So, we're on time. So we should probably start on time if we want to follow rules, I guess. But you know what we're gonna do? Let's just go through the agenda for this. Are we dialed up? Who do we have?
Well, I'm on, but I don't know about Zoom yet.
Okay.
Zoom is on,
Zoom's on, okay.
the TV is not.
Okay.
We only have Amber, the other, Ms. Plummer is somebody I know and recognize from me working on this stuff, but outside, she's not formally on the task force, although maybe a good person. We have Bobby here, and Rachel and Amber and Nick, let's see. I haven't heard from Jessica. Julie Ray was going to attend via Zoom. Lindsay Maffrin is going to actually start sending a different individual from the county that may be a better fit for some of our work, she thought. And then Amber is online. Oopsie, let me try to do this too. And then Julie is unable to make it today. Oh, there's Jessica. And Carrie, I have not heard from, and Diane is maybe late. Just kind of going through an attendance here.
Totally. Thank you.
Would you mind taking Bobby hers?
Yeah.
Thank you. And but we are missing Brady too. So we're missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members for various reasons.
Missing 7. Okay.
Somebody else.
So that kind of leads us to a decision point. But while we're here, are these on yet?
Yeah, you have to have your mics on.
Okay. Is everybody on?
That we have the recording picked up.
And our cell phones too, as a reminder. Set those to silent if we should do this.
Can all record. Okay.
Well, I think what we will do in the interest of time is let's just review the agenda now. Folks online, if you had a chance to see that, I'm guessing you should have, right? Okay. Was there anything that we needed to amend or add or adjust to the agenda for today?
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Oh, let me have printed.
We'll get some.
I was wondering if we could discuss, I don't know, I know TK saw it, but she's not here. I sent out an email with a post that's actually from Willamina about something they're doing.
Oh, I saw
And I
that.
was curious if maybe we could, right, but they're doing it at the Willamina Library. They're hosting it at the Willamina Library, so I just was curious. We could talk about that in terms of our County.
Well, I think that's kind of wrapped in with the public information portion, right? It was in response to that document that PK.
No, so this is separate. So Polk County is doing like resource
Right.
days. So I just was curious if like utilizing our Yamhill County resources, if that's something
Okay.
that falls under an activity that
I can give an update. I think this,
interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
when it gets to that point, I can give an update about how that happened.
Okay. Yeah. That'd be great.
So I guess it's up to those folks that are here. We kind of made the commitment and committed the energy to be here. So even though we are kind of short on people, which would tend to limit what we could do for portions of this agenda, I would like to propose that we continue to go forward and do what we can do with the folks we have. If that's okay with everybody.
Mhm.
I see heads nodding affirmatively on the screen. Everybody here looks good? Okay. Okay, well, in that's the case, we'll call to order, even though we're a little bit late. We had some complications here at the facility today, and sometimes those things happen. And the roll call we already did. And the key points from the last meeting are in the agenda, so for those who have not seen it, first thing we started last meeting, Amber went through the Sheridan Point-in-Time Data handout and review and covered that for us here. Information that was really helpful. Then we talked about the short-term resource center locations. For Provoking Hope being here in City Hall. Tentatively Monday, Wednesday, but we still need agreement and some affirmation as far as a written agreement from the city attorney. So we'll come back to this in today's item. I was just noting what we had And the folks that would be here from Provoking Hope would be 1 manager and 2 CRMs. And we talked about the medium-term resource center location, tentatively Monday to Wednesday, and maybe at the American Legion and
Tuesday to Thursday.
Tuesday to Thursday, okay,
Yeah,
good, let's get that down. Okay, let's get that there, and let me capture that up here too. And you folks have had a chance to get together, but unless I heard differently, that wasn't fully resolved at the end of that get together, that's still
She
valid?
was just supposed to do yeah, they just did a walkthrough, but it wasn't a great time to go walkthrough.
Okay, so we'll follow up on that for today's topics too, but that's good to correct it. That's one of the reasons we go through these things, because I was just telling Heidi, it's really tough to try to keep it facilitated and then take notes and make sure those things happen. So that's not an unexpected outcome that not everything gets captured and shared correctly. That's the other reason we go through this. And then, let's see, meeting term again. And we also talked about little bit of a longer term expectation for this group that we'll go through the end of May, because counting today, we have 2 more meetings is all that's left. With today, that's 3, so there's not a great deal of time left. But we talked about taking a break, tying back in with city council, see what they would like, and that people are still willing to work with us. We still have a lot of work to do. We may look at a slight expansion of our group and invite some new people, depending upon what the city's expectations and desires are. That's what we'll talk about. And then TK went through the public information proposal that she had prepared at that time, and it was put out online. I know she wanted a response to that within a week, and there were several that I saw. I just don't happen to have a copy of that final one today with us. So there was a Google Docs, and if we had access to Google Docs, we could do that. I wasn't quite set up to do that today, because I figured that TK would be here and we'd cover it, so that didn't work out either. Lesson number 2. So that's what we have. Any questions or corrections or amendments to what we had done last time? Okay, let's see. We have 2 more folks that just joined us, so welcome to the folks online. Let's see. Okay. All right, well, I think that'll launch us into today's topics. And Heidi, you said that we have an update that we should cover for the City Hall location?
Sure, so we have worked with Provoking Hope, and their first date here will be May 1st, even though it's a Wednesday. But she just wanted to start on the 1st, and they will be working at 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. They will be here at City Hall, and they will be here Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay, starting the 1st.
Yep,
Well, that's coming right up.
yep. All the agreements are all signed up and everything.
Okay.
What time? 9 a.m. through to 3 p.m.
Agreement's done, right?
Agreement's done, check.
And signed, right?
Correct.
Good.
One step.
So that's pretty much a done deal. That's our next meeting date too.
Oh, good, we can see how it went that evening.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll be done at 3 o'clock meetings or before.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay. So maybe let's put that on the agenda for a summary of the day, how the day went.
What's that?
Like Provoking Hope, since that's our next, maybe we can have them give an update how the first day went.
Okay.
Or things that are missing from this room, because so I always tell like new hires, I'm like, you know what? There's always gonna be something missing. So we'll work through it. Starting first.
I think that's a good idea. Every time you do these things, you learn something, so. I'm
Yeah,
sure there'll be a bunch of stuff that we can share, so that'd be
Yeah.
Okay, so, first thing's done already, but we're just kind of cranking through this today. City Hall. Well, since you're on a roll, you want to lead us into the next medium term?
Mhm.
topic that we have on here?
Which one am I, sorry, I'm trying to take some notes too.
For today's topics, item E, number 2, update on meeting term location.
Okay, so we did some work on that and we need to do some more work on that. So I know it was listed for 40 minutes, but it's really not prepared for today
Okay.
to go much further. So more work to come on that. And I'll work with the people over the course of the next couple of weeks. And Diane apologizes, she's not going to attend today for any particular reason. She will be engaged with the process.
Yeah, that happens too. Okay, well, we're gonna be done, I think, rather quickly, if this is the case.
Yeah.
So I'll just put down, let's see, meeting term location, we need more work.
More work.
I don't know if you have access or anybody has access to that public information document.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
TK and I worked on that as like right before she was essentially leaving because she had to go on a big trip for work.
Okay.
And there was some pieces to that puzzle that needed to be vetted out more. So that could have been what happened.
I see.
She tried very hard today to have somebody come from revitalization, but there was different conflicts with different individuals that had come up. She tried with like 3 people. So she said it's like midnight where she is right now too.
That's crazy.
So but she's still very engaged, and she and I, when she comes back, we're going to work on the next step for the public, what is it called, public information plan.
Are we still taking like some comments on it? I didn't have a
Yep.
chance to respond to it. I guess one question that or maybe concern I had is that putting something out, I just want to make sure that we're not like putting something out that might come back to bite future efforts in a sense, right? Like I think stating like we don't have a big homeless problem, I think could sometimes in terms of public commentary create an issue in the future if we do say like, hey, these are other steps that we want to do in terms of providing resources for the homeless in our area. Then for public to say, well, we were told that it's not a major issue, so why are we focusing our efforts here? So I just feel like we need to have really neutral language in it, and rather than saying we don't have a major problem or is this, I think just saying more like neutralness in that right now we're focusing on resources versus we don't have a major homeless problem, because I think that could potentially set us up for issue in the future if we were to say we want to focus more on homeless resources versus like preventative resources, if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
No, I'm saying like if we say we don't
No, I'm
have,
being honest, no, it doesn't.
but if we say we don't have a major homeless problem,
Yeah.
right? If we put that in a press release and then in 6 months we say, actually, we really want to focus on homeless.
We do have a
Okay.
major homeless problem.
I know, but that's not, but our statement right here says we don't have a major homeless issue. So that's what I'm saying. I think we set ourselves up for failure if then in 6 months we say, actually, we really want to work with YCAP and Encompass to do more homeless outreach. Right? We've told the public it's not a problem, but then now why are we going to work on it? I think that creates an issue in terms of what information we're putting out.
And major is kind of a subjective word, right? Like,
Yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of important because those small little words like that have a disproportionate effect sometimes. So I think you're right, and that falls right in line with what we just talked about when we launched this, is that we do need a little bit more work. And I'm not quite sure what the process for approving that is. I don't know if we have one in place.
no,
Who's gonna give like the final blessing before anything goes out to the public?
yeah,
But it would seem to me if we have more work to do, that would be one item. And I think it's still posted on Google Docs.
Yeah, it is still on Google Docs,
Okay.
yeah.
So what might work, at least to me, is let's try to have comments in like a week before the next meeting, and then we'll recycle this back
Okay,
after the people have a little bit more time. And then hopefully TK will be back. I'm not sure how you that's the case or not.
oh yeah, she'll be back.
Okay, so we'll revisit this again next meeting.
Would that be when it does get released, technically released before the a gathering for people to understand what's going on, to reintroduce.
It's the same day that this place will open here.
The open house. Or the-
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were talking about the actual visit of Provoking Hope here. It will be the same day of our next meeting.
No, I was talking about an open house, having an open house in this town so that
Okay.
with the paperwork and that they can find out all their answers and ask all their questions, then and get the paper either the day before or the same day. So they get it before, they can get all mad and angry about everything. And then come to the meeting because they want to know what the blazes is going on. Did I do that right?
Well, that's a probable outcome.
Yeah.
Well,
So getting like, having, let me see if I'm tracking you, is having the information go out and like in the bulletin, it appears on Tuesday, and then having the open house a couple days
Yeah,
after.
now it's the open house with the thing going out, because they're gonna be, people will get steamy about it, so they'd be more inclined to come to the open house to find out what's going on and to yell, because how dare you do this to us?
It's fresh.
well, what do we
Fresh
think?
angry.
Well, but you need all kinds of responses and feedback, I think, to
You,
make
well,
it
you
better.
want people like that, because that's how the correct information is gonna get out. But hopefully, because they wanna know the answers. And they'll say, aha, oh, it says they have, we're gonna be at that open house, maybe.
So I think also then including a date for the open house in
Well,
the
the date
letter.
would be
Yeah,
in the letter.
in the
so-
letter, yeah.
Well, the open house is gonna take quite a bit of work on
Really?
somebody's part to make that happen. And the first day of Provoking Hope here in town is that Wednesday, May 1st.
Mhm.
So they will probably most likely already be here and have done something before we can have them. I'm just kind of thinking out loud, before we can actually get that open house teed up and ready to go.
I don't think it's gonna be as much of a problem here, because they're gonna be kind of hidden away a little bit. So people aren't really gonna be aware that they're here right away. Give a couple of weeks and because you are gonna have homeless and stuff that aren't gonna come around. You're gonna have people that are gonna need the resources that hopefully will be here. But it's still tucked away a little bit, as opposed to hanging out in front of the Legion.
Okay, so that leads me to a point we probably should talk a little bit. How is the word going to be spread in the community that Provoking Hope will be here on the 1st of May? That should be part of the public information plan. Otherwise, they're going to be here and nobody will know, right? If they show up and word's not out.
I think that they've been telling some of their clients.
That like already live here,
Yeah.
potentially.
Okay.
And so there's been some of that, but I see what you're saying. So Diane and I can work on that piece of it, and like tomorrow-ish.
Yeah, it might be better though to keep it maybe a soft launch
Yeah.
type
Yeah.
situation, not to overwhelm them, so they can also kind of see like, okay, what are we doing? What's the setup? Like we said, we're not gonna know what maybe some of the needs are until they've been in the building for a few days, and then it's like, oh yeah, we need this and this, so.
Okay. Well, I think this is starting to line up a little bit for me. I'm not sure about everybody else. But if Diane and her group continue to work with the city here and try to do what we can without a major public information launch prior to that, first day's kind of a test day anyway. The folks have to get in, the facility's got to be ready to go, meet people, all those sorts of things. So I'm guessing, not knowing anything about this, it's not going to be hyper busy the first day they're here. And the first day they're here is the last day of availability for that week.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is, this lines up with what we just said. We work on the press release. That should be probably goal number 1, I would think, for the next meeting. We need to come out of that meeting with something to go in the bulletin, because it should really ramp up that full first week of May. If we get our homework done, and if we come in, and if we're in attendance and focused, if we focus on that as the topic number 1 for that meeting, it should line us up and put us in well positioned, so the word gets out, people know, it's not a surprise, it gives Provoking Hope a little bit of lead time, they can actually help us with that, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So why don't we just we'll count on you, Heidi, and with Diane, to figure out how they want to let folks know for that first day here. And we'll just think it's a done deal, realizing it's not gonna be a major public engagement because they need some time to figure things out. You know, facilities, logistics, all those things as well. But if we do come into the 5-1 meeting, having another look, and I'm not sure it's gonna be final as far as press release information goes, but at least take a look at it. I think what I'd like to do is to come into that meeting with our ideas and the current version at that time, and focus is topic number 1 being that press release and ramping up the information flow about the city, Provoking Hope partnership and what we tend to offer. That might be a good thing to chase. But that's just a suggestion, so we're open to discussion.
Sounds good to me. I'll let TK know that too.
I'm assuming, are you verifying the number, the statistic that's in there with her? Is that what you guys are working on verifying?
There's a different piece.
Okay, because I also feel like that's something probably important that we need verified before we put it out in a press release, because
I think that that's the part that she verified with Diane at the last meeting.
even then, I think it's probably important that we verify that information with like county, state, because sometimes like organizations are gonna get information that's not necessarily public knowledge, and how they choose to share that is not necessarily the same as us putting it in a press release out.
Some of the best ways to
The city.
work it with what you're saying, I think, is just to do a quote.
Yeah, I think better than saying like, we have this hard number that we got from somebody that got, even though Diane has her organization, those numbers she's given as the head of her organization. So that information is not always intended for public consumption in the same way as it's intended for an organization that works with the court system.
Well,
So I think we just have to be careful about
yeah,
how we push out information, because an organization that works with the courts, getting info from the state is not the same as a task force sharing stats.
That's how it is with like all social science.
Right, but I just mean, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not publicly published information, so I think we have to be
Well,
careful about
The
that.
second it's Sheridan here.
Right, I know, I just think we
So-
wanna make sure we're not just sharing word of mouth
Yes.
information in like an official press release, I think.
well, it's kind of like big problem. It's the same issue as big problem.
Right,
So,
yeah.
and it's really important again, because I tend to agree with those statistical numbers tend to send some people off into the realms of who knows where. And you can convey the same concept by saying, a measurable portion of the responses in the West County are directed to, or whatever, those organizations. And that way, you know, there's lies and damn lies in statistics, you know, how that goes. And sometimes those numbers aren't 100% accurate, but like pollsters and election people are, they'll grab them and run them to the hills. And then, you know, once that horse is out of the barn, he's not coming home. So we need to maybe keep that in mind.
You know, like a more than average number of, you know, calls coming, which means you're not saying
Above
anything.
average.
Well, and that's why I think,
Because it is above average, so, but you're not saying a certain amount here, because you're gonna upset people, you just give them double talk.
well, that's why I think we need to really focus on that, because once it's out, it's out.
Think like a politician.
My husband is a PR guy, so this kind of stuff for me is like, I hear all the time about, you just have to be so, I just think, because we're representing the city, and we don't, I just think it's important that information that we put out in a professional way is like public verified information, and not just stuff that we've shared amongst each other.
Yeah, I think statistics are over. You can't, I mean, any number you get with anything, you can't really, you can't trust it.
Yeah.
You don't know where the source is, you don't know who's skewed it, you just talk like a politician.
Yeah,
Which
that's
all
why,
that.
that's why even when you're in a meeting like this, you need to be very careful about the information that you're sharing, because people do and are watching this, and then it gets extrapolated.
Right.
So, so in some ways, that horse is out of the stall and is
Right,
gonna
and we can't
sprint
control what
forward.
people share, but I just think in terms of press release,
Yes,
we can't,
with a larger audience.
we can't do that, so.
Any other notes for the press release, Jessica?
I don't think so right now. Those were my main ones as I was reading it through it, so.
I got those captured.
And I think that That's good information to keep in mind. It should be like the sideboards that we work on. Yeah, because they're tough to corral, but thanks. Good. Any other ideas from the folks on Zoom? Any other comments, thoughts?
Amber would be the task force member, but at some point, Nick, I'd like to introduce Celia, Ms. Plummer.
Yeah,
that's
we
on
want to
the
do that now?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know if she wants me to introduce her. But she is a person that has contacted the city and is interested in helping with some housing. So I don't know how much she is wanting to share or what she wants to share, but it is this is a public forum, and so just so you have that heads up. But thanks for joining today. She's a very kind person. She's very kind and generous with her time. We cannot hear you. You are on mute. No? We'll circle back to you in a second. Get all geared up there. Okay, Nick.
Okay, no, we're good, I think. This is the second Zoom call that happened to me on this week, so. I don't know. Maybe
You know how
something
it
good.
happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll share that information with TK and we'll circle back on that, but it's sounding like we want to release some information, but I think that the majority of it should be about the open house, right? And like, come and get your information,
Yeah.
maybe even, I think that Diane had a good idea, I thought, about people in our community. She's had people who are in our community who are involved with Provoking Hope, and Provoking Hope has made a valuable difference in their lives. So she's had a couple of people in town who have reached out to her, she said, and want to be a part of the open house and to express how Provoking Hope has positively impacted them. So
I think that would be really great.
okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we'll continue to roll down that path.
That would help.
Okay.
Yeah, those go a long way. It's a lot better than somebody,
Testimony, is that the word? Yeah.
somebody that's on this task force or somebody on the council
Yeah.
saying whatever. So testimonials, we should put that in there.
Yeah, and they're local, people who have lived in Sheridan before and moved away recently or still live here.
Okay.
So, and I've lived here a long time. So I think that was an addition to that response.
I think that would be really good.
Good. So far, so good.
Is there any other subject matter that you want Diane to prepare for the open house? Just about her services, right? And maybe meet the counselors or something, or whatever.
I
don't know what they're
think
called.
what would be best to me is if we have her prepare maybe like a bullet list of services provided. That would be helpful. You know, we're here, we plan to provide X, Y, Z, A, B, C as the community might need. And then she could talk about the wraparound services and how they all kind of interconnect. And her primary role is really not, it's important people know that they are not, certified counselors.
Yeah.
They really just coordinate people in needs with those providers that are able to address them. They don't really, I don't think, provide anything directly other than coordination. But they know all the people that can provide most of the needs, right?
They would fall under peer support. So, I mean, they can provide some like emotional connection under peer support, but yeah, it's not like licensed.
Well, if she can help elaborate on what those are, so that people.
But they have a conference for peer support too.
Yeah.
They don't have.
So they're not, yeah.
I have a friend who goes, yeah, he said, yeah.
If she can help convey that message for the city, I think that would help everybody. But help you folks and then help the public understand better. That's really, if they can make that connection, that'd be much better.
I wonder if, Amber, can you hear us? Okay, good. Is our speaker on? Because, well, the speaker is not, the mics are on, so it's like an either or kind of a thing. I was just wondering why our picture isn't there, but. Amber, can you see us? She cannot see us.
Can't see us, huh?
Okay,
You can't hear her either.
No, we can't hear her either.
we can hear Amber, so maybe it's not.
Stand by one.
Yeah.
This stuff is great when it works, huh? Tech help
It's
is
like,
on.
all I did was press play.
selection of potential questions, would it also be helpful for Deputy Walters or Brady to be there, like with maybe some information from the sheriff's department, just in terms of that? I mean, I just, like, I guess, I think we have to be prepared for anticipated questions that may not be about provoking hope.
And ask them to kind of give a summary.
Yeah,
Sure. Any other speakers?
See if we switch to that. It's like the owl, did the owl get
What's the,
It's like it's not singing the owl.
that's what they were saying, it's because it looked like it's really on, but I was like, that's because we use the mics.
Right. But can they hear, they can hear us or they can't?
Yeah, Amber said she
she
can.
can't hear us. So we
But the owl is our speaker, so. What is happening with the owl?
I don't know.
Do it.
So how long do you think that the open house should go for? Sometimes open houses have like an agenda and there's presenters and that's more of like a meeting. And sometimes an open house can mean to individuals that it's like an,
like come through as you may.
yes, like come through and meet people, come through as you may, right? So you may go 5 to 7 and you can only go at 6 o'clock, right? So I just want to be sure that we know what we're trying to set up and what we can provide people as far as, because the information is the largest.
So I guess the question is it like an open house or a town hall?
That was my question.
Right, because in some ways, if we did an open house, maybe it would
You
be
guys,
also beneficial to have like
I am going to
incumbents
shut
and
it down.
YCAP. Do you know what I mean?
Please
Like,
Call, and then I'll bring it back up,
Multiple, yeah.
okay?
so people
Hopefully
can
you can hear
see
me.
word resources for multiple, but if it's a town hall, that's a little bit different.
Well, you don't have to add other people to have
Yeah.
an open house, would be, I mean, just listening in the Legion and.
Like
being able-
tabletops.
Yeah, being able to talk. But they should have, you should start off with your speakers.
So we'll say between this time we have speakers, and after that it'll break into tabletops, right, where you can come in and out if you've been at the beginning. Is that what we're thinking?
And get all their questions. I mean, most people we're gonna have the negative questions, you're gonna want to say it in front of a large group.
It is like,
Anyhow,
it's
that's,
got Helen.
And then there's also, maybe we should wait till this is all up.
Yeah, I think we should probably get spooled up first. And get
Yeah.
there, kind of like-
I'm trying. And
Oh, you're
usually-
trying.
If she can't make it work, then.
I'm kind of worried here
We got
right now.
faith in
It's
you.
like not even sensing the owl.
Do you want to turn the whole?
I'm gonna
Computer
restart real
off?
quick, yeah.
No pressure, but we have faith.
Yeah. Got faith in your ears.
Been telling people lately, my middle name is Murphy.
Yeah.
And
I think he's coming by my house for dinner today.
Nothing.
Check on the goat, you
we
know.
just basically
We visit
using
every
this,
Sunday
I'm so
morning.
frustrated.
Does he?
Every Sunday.
Well, you know, when I was at work, I had a computer and I told everybody, government computers have this new thing for free in the contract. They said, what's that? I said, it's the random chip.
Random chip.
I said, what's a random chip? I says, it does random things at random times for random reasons. You never know what's coming. So we shut down like this, you know?
That was military.
In government, yeah.
It's still
Well, I mean,
government.
they came from the same place, so.
My helicopter came from the same places.
Well, my computer got so bad, I put a label on said Christine, like that car in Stephen King. Do its own thing.
Sounds like our stuff on Sunday morning.
I
Yeah,
hear
you know
they're-
all about that, right? The bigger the car,
I
the
hear
more
they're
problems.
remaking Christine.
Oh, yeah.
And the more important.
The movie?
Yeah.
Like the.
And Stephen
And the
And the more planning you do, and you
Like a
like
bad
prep is
yeah,
right
that-
moment, then
Nothing.
Yeah,
it's better
just not
just
for
for
out,
so.
I just don't
And
like
then
some
if
of
it
the
goes
things
wrong, you
that's
know, I
when
mean,
I
it's off the
think
cuff,
they're
so
good
we can't
already.
get blamed.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how a lot of people have become like Indiana Jones, like do the crystal skull one, and everybody was like, there.
One
I think that
had-
there's
the dial
another
I
one
think was
too.
the most controversial. The last one was Sundial or something like
Yeah,
that.
that one.
Yeah,
Crystal skull.
that was before that. That was
It's
the,
not
that was the one where
sensitive.
he came back on.
Oh, and then you're right, there is another
Then
one.
there's the dial one.
And this is like Ghostbusters too. I liked the last Ghostbusters.
We'll come back to this.
Yes.
And they decided open house and town hall. That may be part of what we do. That public information plan thing.
That was my question, because last
They
time we
did,
talked
yeah.
about.
I have a
a town
We've
hall.
talked about, we've talked about.
I can see it in town hall, and I can, because because, you know, there's.
So, Yvonne, everybody else is having fun now, talking about movies.
And we're,
The only one left.
you're the only one that cares. I wonder.
I'm talking to Joe's YouTuber people followers
Actually,
about
no one on
movies.
right now.
Oh, okay, good.
I like Ghostbusters.
I'm kind of, I'm stymied right now for,
Well,
can we do, we literally just have this going for,
I mean, they can always jump on my thing and they can watch, but they can't say anything. I mean, I can see their comments,
what's
but.
this? Is this important?
This thing is unplugged.
This sounds happy in my.
no, that's the old hotspot.
Did you say they could dial in?
Yeah, they just go to Sheridan Neighbor Watch, find something, it's live, they can jump on. I mean, they can't say anything, but they can chat and I can see their chat and I can
Yeah.
say for them.
I think Valley wants to say.
I can relay via mouthpiece for them.
It'd be a human
I don't
repeater.
see anything.
That's how it
not
feels like
working.
sometimes.
Why is this happening?
That's an emergency operations position.
Yeah.
That's, I did.
Sometimes it's essential, but sometimes it's just
Just happening.
drowned out, calm, or just.
Yeah, just not,
Do not
this is
dive
not.
on it.
for
I
me.
hope Joe's getting all this on YouTube. We can dress on.
I can edit it out. So when I did the city, what do you call that, townhouse thing?
Mom, this is all red, the owl.
Yeah, I was.
I was able
just
to
gonna
edit
say,
it, literally
but
like
it's not
piece
even-
it, so.
Okay, I'm gonna unplug.
Yeah, let's just unplug her.
No, I never hosted a Zoom meeting. Do you have the option to use your computer audio and speaker?
Yes.
But it only picks up really if you're sitting at the computer.
I see.
When you get into more people spread out in the room is when it becomes a challenge.
Oh, so we can't use the mics if we do that?
Oh, look at, she's waking up. Look at her eyes are creeping up.
Color.
Okay. Maybe her eyes are. Okay. She's awake.
Look at Bobby's freaked out by that.
That's the owl. She actually is called the owl. Okay. So,
They call her a sheep.
yeah, let's get her
See?
speakers going.
Oh, sorry. Joe, that's old coffee, I think.
Oh, it's good, it's still warm.
She's actually named, we have a name for her too.
He shows up at these. Like kids.
Okay, so
One
you
time
guys
you
are
drink
back.
coffee that was like from Friday.
Oh, that was
Monday.
terrible.
And I was like, stop.
I couldn't do like half of it.
Yep, you're back in business.
Okay, thank you.
So sorry, we just, yeah, well, you're the one who said, let's like unplug everything out of her.
Now the question is, will the rest of them all get back on? Or are they like?
They're coming on pretty fast. They've probably been out there in the waiting room.
No, they ran.
Okay, can you give us a thumbs up if you can hear us? Okay. Will you practice? Will you try speaking?
Oh, there's Amber.
Hello.
Oh,
Alright.
yes, there you go. Okay.
Hey.
Okay, so yeah, hi Amber. Thanks for finding us again. Okay,
Okay.
so we were discussing whether or not we want to have, what kind of an open house it is, right? Next, so whether
Or a
it's an
town hall.
open house or a town hall,
Yeah.
or kind of what the format looks like.
Yes.
So Bobby had some ideas for Rachel, somebody,
I think a
Jessica.
town hall would work out.
Okay.
A little bit more structured. They get to come in.
With like an agenda. And then, do we want to try to have like an informal piece for like a half an hour afterward where people can go to like some tables or talk to
Yeah,
people?
I think it's
Break
gonna
out of that
drag
anyway.
out, people are gonna be able to ask questions and everything, because.
Well, and that helps for people that have questions that they don't really
There's
want
a
to
lot
talk
of
in
them
front
that
of
do have
everybody.
questions. You know, and this way,
I think it's just a good idea in general, if we're gonna be putting out this public release, the
Then we have to
days
explain
in
it.
advance, and give an opportunity for people to ask their questions and get some answers, rather than just come in and here's a cup of coffee and ask some questions, and I think it'd just be a better forum for getting those answers out there.
And so we will, we can also put into the press release that we can have their questions taken in advance too, like they can drop them off at City Hall early so people are ready.
Yeah.
But they don't have to, but it's an option for people.
So if we do that, who would be good to have on that panel of speakers?
well, they're gonna wanna hear about Provoking Hope and what they're gonna present this time, because long memories around here, a lot of the stuff that's gonna get brought up is, well, the last time we were here. And it's something that needs to be addressed to everybody.
Okay, so that's a given, Provoking Hope should be one
Yeah,
of the
that has
presenters.
to be. I mean,
And
that's-
that would give Diane a chance to kind of share those bullets that we just talked about. Here's the kinds of things we do, and here's what we're
This is
going
what
to
we'll be,
pass.
yeah, this is what we'll be able to
I
offer.
think I
This is why you want, basically, they're gonna tell them why you want us here, why you would like to have us here. I'm gonna tell you all these things, and then you're gonna make questions, and give them to us, and then we're gonna answer all your questions, so everybody's all comfortable.
I think that's,
And then live happily ever after.
so how you're gonna kick this off? Okay.
Yeah. And then I think just having, encouraging Diane to bring enough people to sit at different tables around the room at the end of it, just kind of be able to have those one-on-one touch meetings or something. And maybe there'll be people there that are looking for specific services and like, how do I get this geared up, you know?
Yeah, it's a good sales pitch for the city too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll look at that, get that going.
Who else?
Brady.
Oh, yeah, we talked about the sheriff's office, open that.
Do we need to have someone from city council there, or?
Right, the big city council.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah, we can have the mayor say hello.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, yeah, that's a, like, hey,
It's important
Bobby,
to
do
have-
you wanna talk since it's gonna be at the
I have to
Legion?
unlock the door, of course I'll be there.
But even just saying like, this is the relationship we're hoping to have in the community, I think that's good too, because people, I trust you guys and participate and come to the Legion, so.
Well, some of our members will be there too, trying to find out.
So when and where, do we know?
The where sounds like it'll be at the Legion, or, I think that's the only location.
Oh, all
because-
people, they either comfortable with the Legion or they're curious about what's going on inside there, because no, you don't have to salute when you walk through the doors.
Okay.
So then the other thing is what day, there's never a good day. You're always gonna have people who can't make it because of certain reasons.
Yeah, well, that may be dependent upon the people
Coordinate
who,
that with Diane.
yeah, the people that are gonna present are probably the drivers, and then the facility too, if you guys have any commitments. So that'll TBD based on presenters and other commitments, right? Oh, about when?
And most of our commitments are usually, later in the evening. I'm the only commitment during the day.
So we also need to think about invitations, like special invites of people, so like I would like to make sure that the faith leaders are inviting their congregations to go, to attend, so we should think about everybody that we want, we need to essentially make an invitation, I would
Yeah.
say. And then put it out on social media, so.
So we meet in 2 weeks and we're hoping to have the press, I mean, we're hoping to have further on that. I mean, like, I'm
So
trying to
we
think,
invite them in 2 weeks.
like, that's May 1st, then our next meeting is May, do we want to shoot for, so that's the other thing too, we have to pay, so Memorial Day is that 4th weekend of May this year.
What if we, so what is our last meeting? May
15th is our last.
May 15th, so what if we had it in between the weeks so that we could follow up with all the data at the last meeting, or whatever happened?
That second week of May.
Let's tentatively
What's
shoot
happening on the first, is that the one we're having the next meeting is?
for first of May, yeah.
And that's when we're gonna approve the
We should be able
final.
to get it all done first of May and set it all up after that.
Well, the only,
Yeah.
And no, Diane,
the only thing I'm thinking is with all of these logistics, with presenters and scheduling facilities, when we get the information plan finalized in the meeting of the first, that will be a major milestone. Now, if we can, that's a big carrot to ask people to finish, at least to me, to finish the information plan by the first, and have all of these other speakers, facilities, things, we can probably do it.
If we start now though and say, hey, do you have availability sometime that week in May, then maybe by the, maybe we can.
a lot of it depend on Diane though,
Yeah,
because that's so much the reason why we're doing this, is
Yeah.
because Provoking Hope. I can't see we're gonna have to have a whole bunch of other speakers. I'm there simply because it's there, it's my business, it's our building. Grady, he has information about whether that it would be a good thing. So he would just reinforce what Diane is saying.
Well, what I'm thinking is that, to me, for most of the people in town, at least as far as I don't know how many people sign on to the city website for information, but I know a lot of people look at the bulletin. So bulletins, information is due Friday, I think the week before publication, that's kind of what I have in mind. So if we do this the first, and if Heidi's gonna be busy between now and then, if we can get all of those logistics and speakers, and schedules and facilities lined up before the 3rd, or by the 1st, if we shoot for the 1st for both of those, is that too much for you? Because you're carrying most of the weight.
So May 1st, you want me to have worked with Diane to make sure that are we talking about May 8th for the open
Do it on
townhouse?
a Wednesday, when's the best?
I think it depends what
Task
first
force members have been able to squeeze in Wednesdays. I imagine that we would want more of this group there than less.
Yeah.
It depends on
I
how,
would say
But-
either the Wednesday or Friday.
I would like to be able to give her like a date, like can you make it
let's shoot
the
for that.
8th or the 9th?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
shoot for that, but she'll be here the 8th, right? She'll be here anyways, the 8th.
Yeah, it's the only one that headaches.
Well, I don't know that Diane's gonna be the person on
Yeah.
site, but
Well, those two,
Provoking Hope.
yeah, let's do that.
I know too that she brought over
Yeah.
there.
the counselors that are gonna be here
They
in
were all
Sheridan,
excited. It was the cutest thing.
the counselors that are here in Sheridan should also be at this experience too.
So tentatively the 8th, is that what I hear?
Yeah, May 8th from what
Okay.
time to what time?
So we just need to remember that spool up time to get it in the bulletin.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, tentative May 8th, that's a big deal. Let's do that. Tentative date, May 8th, need info by the 3rd, right?
I like that. The bulletin, that one.
But what time? Amber, are you gonna come?
Possibly. You said May 8th.
Yes.
I mean, I can probably be there. Let me just make sure.
I think it'd be nice to have
Would be.
YCAP
Yeah, it would be.
activities.
Yeah, I'm free that evening, if that's what we're talking about, sometime like 4:34 or something like that. I can do that. I'll put it in my calendar now, just so I don't schedule anything else that day.
Great.
You wanna just do like 4 to 6, like we've been meeting?
Depending on availability of
Yeah.
presenters. I'll put that down. Tentative 4 to 6?
Yep.
American Legion?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll work on that with Diane. Put a star next to it.
I better put that tentative in big green.
Yeah.
Well, you need to shoot for a target or else you're gonna miss.
Get it done.
I have like a whole wall of Nickisms at this point.
I watched a show about Yogi Berra last night.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We also had on there long-term options. Just looking ahead, are we pretty well, I'm guessing we're pretty well closed up, unless there are questions from folks signed in online through Zoom. Any questions
Or introductions of
or
selves.
comments? Yeah, most folks don't introduce themselves. You think we should do that more formally, so they feel welcome? Because they're all welcome, it's just that we don't go through the intros. Maybe some people don't want to.
I don't know how much Thalia wants me to say, so I would be.
I can chime in a little bit. So I'm working with Heidi and some other folks we're in feasibility studies for a property out on Sheridan Road. And me and my team, we build housing for nonprofits, and we're all very passionate about affordable housing and expanding that and improving outcomes around it. So unfortunately, I'm over here in Beaverton, so I'm a little ways away, but I definitely wanted to attend this and just get more information, and I'd love to be a part of helping however I can. And definitely look forward to attending the meetings and helping when I can.
Thank you.
Yep, good deal, thanks. We can use all the help we can get.
Yes.
There's a lot to do. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us too. I know you have other things you could do, so we appreciate you joining and taking away from other things that help us with this project, so.
Amber, do you have any update or anything you want to share from YCAP?
No, things are pretty much the same as they've always been. Nothing substantial.
Have we shared with this group about what we're working on?
Yeah, at the last meeting, you announced that the subcontract,
Okay, good.
sub-agreement, subcontract for home service through our turnkey program.
Okay.
Good deal. Okay, well, do we have that, town hall information pretty well wrapped for what we need to for today?
I think so.
Long-term option needs, I started to think about this after we got into this last topic. And, that may be one that might be best to wait on.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking is that we really need Diane to help us with that, because we don't know what we don't know. So how about if we, one more thing for you, Heidi.
Yeah.
How about when you talk to her, after we get all the short-term stuff figured out for this get-together that we have coming up scheduled? Tentative, May 8th, is that what it says? Yeah.
Yeah.
Then maybe we can ask Diane if she can help us try to identify, once this initial flurry, that's gonna be a busy week. You know, they're gonna mobilize here for the first time, set up, then the first 3 days, they're gonna be like full-time here. Ideally, information will get out, people will be coming in, they'll be busier. So maybe sometime after that, I don't know when, it would be good to sit down with her and say, what do you think you need for a long-term facility that we have to provide to make it successful?
When we say a long-term facility,
Longer term, probably.
longer,
Yeah, it's all relative,
yeah, exactly.
or medium to long, we'll figure this part out, I don't know, but we need her help to do that, I think,
Down the road, yeah.
so.
When cities plan, we are always forced to think about a long term as at least 20 years, so. So I just want to be sure that as I'm talking to her, I have the right language that's expected. But I think that the goal, Sheridan will grow, and so having a building or a location that eventually starts to grow as well and allows for that flexible space where as needs change and the community can be responsive of that.
But that kind of makes sense to me, otherwise we have a lot of stuff coming due, and some of it is just because of timing.
Yeah.
We're gonna time out here in the middle of next month. To kind of fulfill our obligations that we've signed up for.
Yes, and I let the city council know at the last meeting too, that the task force, they can expect the task force to deliver essentially a list of what is needed for a short-term, medium-term, and a longer term, and maybe the longest version, 20 years or something, but just that medium, long-term. And so that they can go to work over the summer months and they can have that information will be very valuable for them. And then they can start to think about, I'll let them know the list of the brainstorm list of the different locations that had come up. But essentially that will be key to them. I let them know at the last meeting that, one of the difficult pieces is that this group doesn't have any money. And so without having access to any money, it's hard to, design a space or make any recommendations. So that's the part where they essentially hold the purse strings, if you will. So they need to take this information and then figure out what that looks like on their end. I'm not trying to sway anybody one way or the other, but that's the council's decision, the money piece of it. So they'll have the information that they need, and then they'll be able to do that. And then I think we'll meet again in the fall. You'll have direction from them of some sort, and then we'll see what tasks they give the task force at that point. Sound good? Yeah? Okay, cool. You guys don't have to work over the summer. That's the best part, right?
Well, it kind of makes sense. It's good to get them re-engaged too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe one of the things we should consider for re-engagement is have a rotating council person meet us here. But not every meeting, just once in a while. I think it might help carry the
That'll be one of the
message.
suggestions of the task force.
Yeah, just invite them, If they want to come, great. If not, that's okay too. They're busy like everybody else. But I think it would be a good thing to invite them to join us on occasion. And they can make the call a little work. Okay. All right, review a meeting. Well, we went through most of it.
Nick, before we close,
Yeah.
Heidi, could you share a little bit about how
Oh, yeah.
library resources came to pass.
Okay,
Yeah.
hang on just a second, let's add that in here.
Yeah, so I don't have, I mean, I was at a different job at the time, but I had that question, because one of the things when I first came about was we had some meetings that were happening and we were invited to in Willamette and the library. Willamette I don't know about half, but part of the city at least is in Polk County. And Polk County was early in the process, many years ago at this point, that's relative as we've talked about at this meeting. Sometime during COVID, was a recipient of a large grant of about $1 million. Maybe Amber knows actually more about what this grant is called too. But that county got this money and was essentially an experimental round, used actually more formal than experimental completely, right? But they had some money to do some navigation centers or to do something. But they essentially formed like a coalition and with different faith leaders and different nonprofits, and then they use that money and have used that money to take things forward. So that's a lot of that. Amber, do you know more about that?
I'm not sure about that specific pot of funds, but it sounds similar in nature to money that we've received for similar purposes, like Turnkey was sort of specialized funding to turn that motel into a non-congregate homeless shelter. And we have funding that has helped us to build out our navigation centers. One in Newburgh is one that can build that are going to be opening hopefully this summer, and all the construction goes on time. And we have between our board and different groups participation in the way you're describing, though perhaps less formal than like a real task force.
I'll figure out the name of that.
Okay.
But
I
it
was
was like you had to be early in the process. Like,
Okay.
it was yours.
I was just curious, like, because we were working with Encompass and YCAP, right, in terms of, is it possible that we have something even like every other month, right, where they come in, whether it's at the Legion or the library, and we say, hey, Encompass is gonna be here this week, they can help us, here are the things that they can do, or they're gonna be here this month talking about getting your utility bill assistance, right? I feel like those are really specific things that don't necessarily fall under Provoking Hope, right? Because these are things that like the county has money for. The county has money to help people connect to utility
When
services.
Diane says the wraparound service, that's what she's referring to.
Do they,
She's doing all that because they know
Yeah.
the resources. She said somebody can come in there and
do they connect to the utility programs and all of those things too?
they
Yes.
can address that.
Okay,
Amber knows
Okay.
a lot about that, I think.
Yeah. she said
Yeah,
they-
they do, and Provoking Hope is part of the BURN network, Behavioral Health Resource Network, that YCAP is also part of. And it's part of Measure 110 funding. So that's kind of what helps, and maybe that's what you're referencing, I'm not sure, but it includes substance use disorder services, and what Provoking Hope is best known for, and peer mentoring type things, and then housing services. So we're also a partner of the BURN, and Provoking Hope is one of the entities that is referring partners, so they have, like a special way to refer into our turnkey program.
okay. So I guess that's what I guess I'm just wondering, is it roundabout to go through Provoking Hope for some of these programs, or is there a more straightforward way, like that if we had them come out every other month, it would be a more direct connection versus having to go through multiple steps for some people?
And it depends.
The question
Like
will
if-
come up though about, well, if Provoking Hope can do this, why are you bringing other people in?
True, and I just think the more access we will have to resources through more organizations, because the county in the end, Provoking Hope to revert back to the county. So if we have a direct connection for some people, it's like the reason people struggle to get disability or Medicaid is because the process is so tedious. So if we can have an option like, hey, this month at the library, this is your like direct connection. There's one step and that's all you gotta do. That also I think is an important resource to offer, but I didn't know if that's an option.
So that's
Think
kind of
about.
what I'm talking about, is the medium to longer term option of what this building looks like, right? So can there be more and or different services, and some services we don't know about yet, maybe
Right,
that we
yeah.
find out that people want. Lindsay had suggested that there could be some access to some mobile services, which were like the doctor services, right? With the dentist or
Medical would be
medical of some
great.
sort of thing. And so she had said, but what does that look like, right? Like,
Yeah.
so that will be, I think, part two of all of this, but which is, what does this longer term building look like? Does it offer some sort of a mobile, I don't know what you even need, need a big plug-in outside, I don't know,
No, they
so
come with their own
they come with their own stuff. And
Yeah,
so
'cause-
maybe they just need enough room in a big parking lot, right, to hook that up. But yeah, you have to have the space for at least for the mobile unit. So, but that's all a part of these conversations that I think are really part two, but understanding just the basics. So I have on my list, ask Diane the long-term options for her to make a priority list of items for, short-term, medium-term, long-term, and way long-term.
Yeah,
So
And I guess-
how does she see it growing over time?
that's maybe a question too for Diane is, would they prefer to stay more, I know they do wraparound services, but more in the substance abuse wraparound services realm, right? Versus someone who's not coming in, they don't want any substance use help, they don't necessarily want wraparound services, they just want one connection to one resource.
For me to be able to offer the American Legion protection, must have something besides the drug and alcohol.
Okay, right, and but for a certain, we're gonna have some people who don't wanna participate in all of the things Provoking Hope, right? They
No,
might
but
come
they
in and
can
just
offer.
say, I just wanna get connected to a utility
Right,
out.
that's what what she says they're able to do.
Okay,
Okay, so I found the name of the thing that started it. It was House Bill 4123. And it was the city county coordinated homeless response pilots. So that's what
Okay.
Polk County
County
was
is doing it, okay.
That's what they received. Each pilot received 1 million in state funding to operationalize coordinated offices anchored by city-county partnerships to strengthen their community's homeless response. And then it goes on and on.
Okay.
Yeah, so they chose certain communities based on point-in-time data to give that money to, and then created sort of a second wave of it that others got in a smaller amount and with less of a pilot. So they called it a local planning group, and did that money. They're kind of using that model the state is with other funding sources too, but we call it HB 5019 because it's a different piece of legislation that tried to give money to the rest of the state that wasn't part of that pilot, because a lot of us were like, hey, that's not really fair. We're a small county, but we still have a homeless problem here. And they listened, fortunately, and gave us at least something. But then they tied it only to unsheltered homelessness. So people living in their cars, not people staying in homeless shelters. But starting in July, we'll get more monies for anybody who's experiencing homelessness, not just unsheltered. It's complicated, I realize, if I can describe it.
But it says right here, so Polk County was, awarded this first round that you were talking about. It was Polk County, and they had so they signed on, their county commissioners, along with City of Falls City, City of Monmouth, City of Independence, City of Willamette, City of Dallas, Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency. Okay. So that was the group that was awarding that, and then they had to make their own task force.
Yeah.
What they were gonna do with the strategic plan, and now they're in the implementation stages. And so I think that's why you can see some of that reverberating even in Willamette.
Yeah.
And even in Grand Ronde.
So maybe that's something for us to watch too over the next couple months, is how that rolls out, and maybe some of the things and feedback there, and coordinating with them even when we come back in the fall of like, hey, what's worked, what hasn't worked? How can we take some of that feedback from you guys and implement it for us?
Yeah, looking, because I think that they've had to really do a lot of data points over that to measure their success or, what didn't work. So having somebody from that organization come in and talk about that. But they were doing those pretty regularly at the City of Willamette Library for a while.
Okay.
But since we are not a part of Polk County, it was in the best
Yeah.
interest. of
Oh,
us
I
to
know, because
continue
I
to
have
go.
properties in both counties.
Yeah, oh,
So-
I almost bought a property in both. I didn't want my backyard in one county and one.
I didn't know, it's a funky situation.
It's scary.
That's good. Okay, just to help clarify for me, Polk County's in this program, and that's what drove the comment about the Willamette Library being sent out in
Yes,
response.
because they're facilitating it with the
Right.
city through the library.
And then Amber mentioned something about Yamhill County, but it was a different bill number. I'm not sure if it's a different program, but it's something similar. Is that a fair assessment, but maybe slightly different?
Yeah. That's what I said. The amount of money was much smaller. It has different strings attached to it, if you will, but still the overarching purpose of creating a coordinated system of addressing homelessness.
Okay.
That's the most easy summarized way I can put it. Most of those funds went not just in Yamhill County, but statewide toward creating emergency homeless shelters and some street outreach, which we have not done a lot of street outreach because we have a Compass who does a lot of that. And frankly, more need than we have the capacity to serve.
Okay. Yeah, I sort of lost my way halfway through there, but I think I'm back on the Okay, good deal. All right, that was a good trip to take though. So, and it does tie to one of the topics we hit at, so that was a good discussion. So review of the meeting, well, we kind of started out in one place and ended up somewhere else, but it was good. It was a good way to go. Short-term resource center is going to be starting up the 1st of May. It's coming right around the corner, 9 to 3, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the agreement signed. So that's a done deal. That worked out. Medium term, we still have some work to do on that. That's still in process. Public information plan, we talked quite a bit about that, and we kind of spun into several other things. But one of the things that came out is that will be our number one topic for next month's meeting. And following up on that, we talked about open house, and we decided on a town hall because we had to make some decisions. And what that led to was we have a series of presenters, Provoking Hope, probably Brady and the mayor. I'm not sure. Heidi will continue to work on that.
Yep.
Based at the American Legion, and a date to be determined by who can attend as presenters. Invitations will go out, but the tentative date we came up with was May 8th, based on schedules. And that's from 4 to 6 right now. But that may change too, based on availability. Then we took the trip to several different bills to provide assistance to the county that could complement what we have for needs here based on the information that we heard that was being presented at the Willamette Library as part of their program. And then has a similar but somewhat different program at a smaller funding scale. But the idea was whatever programs we have access to, we probably want to look and incorporate those into the medium to longer term goal that we have. And what we provide with this task force and supported with the city council on. And we will talk to the city council, present them what we think the needs will be, requirements are short, medium, long term for the programs we talked about. That again is going to be some work that will have to be done in conjunction with Diane. But we talked about doing that longer term after that May 8th town hall. There's just a lot between now and then. We just need to pace ourselves and our folks out, so that we can try to meet those the best we can with the staffing that we do have. And then we asked Provoking Hope to provide an update at our next meeting, which is going to be 1st of May and their first day here in Sheridan. And I think that's from my list anyway, what we had covered. Anything else that we might have missed? Oh, we introduced our folks too online, which was kind of nice. So thanks for the help. Thanks for the help. Always, Amber, you're always there with lots of information. So that's good that we have both of you with us. Especially for the longer term part, a little bit of a incentive there. Because this is, as you're well aware, going to be a long duration effort. So we need everybody for the long term. We didn't really have a bin list, I don't think, for this meeting. We didn't have anything that we didn't cover. We postponed some things based on availability of people and information. No bin items, that's good. That means this team is getting better as we go. That's what we'd like to see. With that, according to what I show, anything else, we'll open it to the folks that have signed in on Zoom. Anything else we want to cover before we move on to the closing comments and adjournment?
No, not for me.
We're good? How about from the task force members here? We good? Okay. So then I think what we'll do is we'll go back to Heidi for some closing comments.
I always appreciate everybody giving their time. It's very important. It's very nice to have so many community members step forward and put themselves out there to serve in the community. I think that that's really important and it helps build a sense of community in so many ways too. So just have a lot of respect for the time and your input into helping a stronger community. And I'm really excited to bring Provoking Hope in and hope to exactly give more hope in people's lives. And that is going to be a really great thing that I think will warm a lot of people's hearts and help them to have more hope in their lives, which is a lot of times a missing piece. So, thank you.
Okay, great.
It's a lot of pressure for this closing. Keep letting me share. I feel like somebody else can probably give much better closing comments.
We're done, here you go.
That's right. We're almost there.
Yes.
I'll have a story for us at the next meeting about my old boss in the track team. Just remind me.
Oh, okay, I'll put it in the notes.
But I think with that, we're about ready to adjourn. Just before we do, thanks to Joe too for all of your help.
Yes.
Next meeting, Wednesday, May 1st, 4 o'clock here, where we'll hear from Provoking Hope. Summary of day 1. Okay, everyone, thanks. Have a good couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank